Okay, if you only watch one video to lock down AP Micro Unit 1, make it this one. By the end, you'll get the concepts and be ready for the exam questions. No fluff, no 400-page textbook. Let's go. Here's our path. We start with the fundamentals, what economics even is, and the idea of cost that everything hangs on. Then the production possibilities curve, your first real graph, then comparative advantage, which is why trade makes everyone richer. And finally, we finish with how you actually make smart choices. Let's get right into it. First stop, the fundamentals. This is the part people rush through and then regret. Every single graph later in this course goes back to one idea. Every choice has a cost. So let's get the grasp of economics bit by bit. So, what even is economics? Forget the textbook definition for a second. Think about your week. You've got 24 hours in a day, but about 100 things you'd love to do with them. The gap between wanting more than you can have is the entire reason economics exists. Officially, economics is the study of how we make choices when resources are limited but wants are unlimited. And we study it for two reasons: to understand why the world works the way it does, and to make smarter calls with what we've got. Now, two quick vocab pairs the exam recycles every year. Microeconomics zooms in on individual players, you, a single store, or one market. Macro zooms way out to the whole economy, unemployment, inflation, all of it. Then we have positive versus normative. A positive statement is a fact you can check, like gas prices rose 10%. A normative statement is an opinion about what should happen, like gas is way too expensive. One you can test and the other you argue about at dinner. AP exam alert. If a statement has should, ought, or too much in it, it's normative. Spotting that is a free point and time saved. We keep saying resources are limited, but what actually counts as a resource? There are exactly four, and the exam wants all of them. Picture opening a boba shop. You need a spot to put it. That's land, every natural resource from the ground to the water to the tapioca. You also need people to run it. That's labor, human effort, brains, and muscle. Then you need the blenders, the counter, the machines humans built to make other stuff. That's capital. And you need the person with the idea who takes the risk and pulls it all together. That's entrepreneurship. Here's the bonus idea. Each factor earns its own kind of income. Land earns rent, labor earns wages, capital earns interest, and the entrepreneur earns profit. Okay, let's say it's 9 p.m., you've got a math test tomorrow, your phone's blowing up, and your bed is right there. You cannot do all three. Now you just bumped into the single most important idea in this whole course. That's scarcity. Limited time, money, and energy, but unlimited stuff you'd love to do with them. And because you can't have it all, you're forced to choose. Every single time. The moment you pick one thing, you give up the others. Those are your trade-offs. But economists zoom in on one specific thing. The single best option you gave up. That's your opportunity cost. So if you choose to study instead of sleep, your opportunity cost isn't everything, it's the one thing you'd have done next. Maybe that's the hour of sleep you really needed. That's it. AP exam alert, engrave the exact wording into your head. Opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative you give up. And that right there causes one of the most common mix-ups in the course. The exam will try to bait you here. Picture your weekend. You could hang with friends, pick up a shift at work, or grind AP review. You take the shift. Your trade-offs? Both things you walked away from. Friends and review. But your opportunity cost is just one item off that pile. The one you wanted most. If hanging with friends was your number two, then friends is your opportunity cost. The review you weren't really going to do, that doesn't count. So in summary, trade-offs are the whole list, opportunity cost is the single most valuable thing on it. AP exam alert. If an answer choice adds up everything you sacrificed, that's the trade-off trap. Opportunity cost is always one thing. Now zoom out from your Saturday to an entire country. Same exact problem, but just way bigger. So every society has to answer three questions. 1. What should we produce? More phones or more hospitals? 2. How should we produce it? With a ton of workers or with robots and machines? And 3. For whom? Who actually gets the stuff once it's made? It sounds simple, but how a country answers these three is literally what defines its entire economic system, which is exactly where we're going next. So who answers those three questions? The government or regular people like you? That's the whole ballgame, and there are four setups. In a traditional economy, people often bartered for stuff. In a command economy, the government calls every shot: what gets made, how, and who gets it. A market economy flips it. Buyers and sellers decide, and prices do the organizing all on their own. Adam Smith called that the invisible hand. Nobody's in charge, but it still works. And a mixed economy is a blend. Some government, mostly market. That's basically every country today, with the US included. So if someone asks what kind of economy we live in, mixed is probably your answer. Alright, concept warm up done. Time for your first real graph. Meet the production possibilities curve. The name sounds intimidating. It's honestly one of the friendliest graphs in the course. To put into a simple picture, it shows scarcity, efficiency, opportunity cost, and growth. Let's get straight into it. Imagine your whole country can only make two things. Let's say pizzas and desks. It's a weird combination, but just stick to it. The PPC shows every maximum combination of those two goods you can make if you use all your resources fully. Land on the curve and you're efficient. There's nothing sitting idle. There are three main ideas for this graph. First, we have efficiency. Being on the curve means no resources are wasted. Second, we have trade-offs. To make more desks, you have to make fewer pizzas, so the curve slopes down. And finally, the opportunity cost. Slope is the opportunity cost, how many pizzas you give up for each desk. And here's the exam's favorite twist. Where you land on the curve shapes your future. Machines are capital goods, they help you make more stuff later, while pizzas are consumer goods, enjoyed today and gone. Pick a capital heavy point and you give up pizza now, but the whole curve shifts outward over time. That's economic growth, bought with today's sacrifice. Okay, and just one more pair the exam rewards. Any point on the curve is productively efficient. You're not wasting anything. But the single combo society actually wants most, say everyone's hungry. A point that prioritizes pizza is allocatively efficient. Productive means no waste. Allocative means the right mix. AP exam alert. No, both. Productive efficiency is anywhere on the curve. Allocative efficiency is the one point that best matches what society wants. Now a question that trips people up. Why is the curve usually bowed outward like a rainbow instead of a straight line? Whether the curve bends comes down to how flexible your resources are. Take your time during finals week, split between chemistry and history. If an hour of studying helped exactly the same in both subjects, shifting time between them would always cost you the same, no matter how much you'd already moved. Graph that and it's a straight line. But brains don't work that way. Some of yours is just better suited to history than chemistry. Push more hours into chemistry and you start pulling from time that was doing real work for history, so each extra hour costs more than the one before it. Farmers run into the same wall. One is great at growing corn, useless on an assembly line. Move them onto cars and you lose a lot of corn for maybe 2 cars built. Push harder and the trade keeps getting worse. Every PPC has 3 different spots, and the exam will drop a point somewhere and ask, what's happening here? So let's take a look at all 3. Start with point A, sitting right on the curve. Nothing's idle. Every hour, every machine, every dollar of resources is actually doing something. Economists call that efficient, and it's basically the position everyone's chasing. Now slide inside the curve to point C and the whole picture changes. This is what a recession actually looks like on paper. Factories with the lights on but half the floor empty. People who want work and can't find any. Nothing's broken exactly. The stuff to build more is just sitting there unused. It's basically that group project where 2 people vanish for a week and you still turn something in, just way thinner than what 6 people could have made. Then there's point D, out past the edge of the curve entirely. You can want it all you want, but with what you've got right now, you're not getting there. Not this semester, not with these resources, maybe next year if something changes. Right now it's just the shape of a dream you haven't earned yet. So how do you reach that point D that was supposedly impossible? You don't cheat the curve, but you actually move the whole thing. Give an economy more resources, sharper technology, a workforce that knows more than it used to, and the whole curve doesn't just move along itself, it slides outward. What was impossible yesterday is possible today. Economists call it growth. You've lived this. Freshman year, pulling a 5-page essay together overnight was not happening, no matter how much caffeine was involved. By senior year, it's just Tuesday. Nothing about your raw talent changed overnight. Your capacity did, and that's the curve itself moving, not just where you happen to sit on it. Run it backward, and the curve does too. A war burns through resources. A pandemic pulls half the workforce out of commission. A disaster wipes out the equipment nobody thought twice about. Less becomes possible than was possible last year, and that's decline, not because anyone got lazier, but because the ceiling itself dropped. AP exam alert. On an FRQ, when you shift a curve, you must label the original PPC1, the new PPC2, and draw an arrow showing the direction. No labels, no points, even a correct shift loses marks. Next is my favorite idea in the whole unit, because it sounds unreal until it clicks. It's called comparative advantage, and it explains something that feels impossible: why two people or two countries are both better off trading, even when one of them is better at literally everything. Picture you and your roommate splitting chores. You're faster at both dishes and laundry, so you should just do everything yourself, right? First, two terms. Absolute advantage is simple: who's just plain better, who makes more or does it faster. You beat your roommate at both chores, so you've got absolute advantage in both. Comparative advantage is the sneaky one: who gives up less to do a task, who has the lower opportunity cost. Even though you're faster at everything, your time is precious. Every minute on laundry is a minute stolen from dishes, where you're really good. Your roommate isn't giving up much by doing laundry, so they take laundry, you take dishes, and together you finish faster. That's comparative advantage, and it's the driver for all trade. To find it on the exam, you'll calculate opportunity cost from a table, and there are two cheat codes. If the table gives you output, remember triple O. Output, other goes over. If it gives you input, remember IOU. Input, other goes under. We'll use both right now. Let's run a real MCQ example. This is the exact kind of table that shows up on the exam, so let's get the method down. Two countries, the US and the UK, each making cars and corn. These numbers are output, how much they can produce. The US makes 20 cars or 40 corn. The UK makes 10 cars or 30 corn. First, absolute advantage, just who's bigger. The US beats the UK at both, so if absolute advantage decided everything, the US would do it all and the UK would do nothing. But that's not how it works. Now comparative advantage, opportunity cost. Use triple O, output, other goes over. For the US, the cost of one car is the other goods number over this one, 40 corn over 20 cars, so one car costs 2 corn. For the UK, 30 over 10, one car costs 3 corn. The US gives up less corn per car, so the US takes cars. Run corn the same way, and the UK wins it. So even though the US is better at both countries specialize and both come out ahead. Same idea, but one sneaky twist. This twist is exactly how College Board trips you, so watch closely. Now the table gives input, hours to make one unit. The US needs 5 hours per car, 2 per corn. The UK needs 4 hours per car, 1 per corn. Here's the trap. Fewer hours is better, so the UK now has the absolute advantage in both. It's faster at everything. But comparative advantage doesn't care who's faster. Switch your mnemonic to IOU, input, other goes under. For the US, one car costs 5 hours over 2, 2.5 corn. For the UK, 4 over 1, 4 corn. The US gives up less, so the US still takes cars and the UK takes corn. Same answer as before. The lesson, output or input, comparative advantage always goes to whoever sacrifices less, never just whoever's better. AP exam alert. Output, other over. Input, other under. Mix these up and the whole problem flips. Write the rule on your scratch paper before you calculate. Okay, pause and screenshot this one. It's the entire comparative advantage unit on a single slide. Opportunity cost is give up over get, simple as that. If your table is showing outputs, the other good goes on top. If it's showing inputs, flip it. The other good goes on the bottom. Whoever ends up with a smaller number has comparative advantage, full stop, and that's the country that should specialize, not the one that's better at everything, just the one giving up less to make it. Then they trade, and here's the part people skip past. The terms of trade have to sit between the two countries' opportunity costs, or nobody signs. Land inside that window, and both sides walk away with more than they started with. Land outside it, and one country just shrugs and makes the thing itself, no deal needed. Get comfortable with this one slide, and honestly, most comparative advantage questions on the exam are just the same idea with different numbers. So let's zoom back out. Why does any of this matter? Why do countries bother trading at all? Here's what actually comes out of this. Countries end up specializing in whatever they give up the least to make, so resources stop going to waste on things a country's mediocre at. They trade at a rate that sits between both opportunity costs, which means neither side is getting shorted. And once that happens, total output across both countries goes up. Not a little either. More than either one could have scraped together working alone. Same reason chores go faster once you and your roommate stop doing everything together and just split up the list. One of you handles dishes, the other handles laundry, and somehow the apartment's clean in half the time. Last stop. And this is where economics stops being about countries and starts being about you, standing in the checkout line. How do smart people decide how much of something to do or buy or eat? It comes down to two clean little rules, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. Let's finish strong. Before we weigh costs against benefits, we need to be clear on what actually counts as a cost, because one of these three is a total trap. Start with explicit costs, the easy ones, actual money out of your pocket. You hand over $60 for a concert ticket, that 60 is explicit, full stop. Implicit costs don't show up on a receipt, which is exactly why people miss them. You're not spending cash, you're spending something you already had, usually time. Blow your one free Saturday at that concert and no money moves, but the Saturday's still gone. And that's the cost nobody wrote down anywhere. Sunk costs are the one that actually messes with people's heads. That 60 you already paid is gone no matter what happens next, rain or shine, tired or not, so it has zero business influencing whether you go tonight. But nobody thinks that way in the moment. I already paid for it is probably the most expensive sentence in economics, because it talks people into throwing more time or money after something that's already spent and unrecoverable. Quick, first slice of pizza after a long day. Incredible. Now picture your eighth slice. Not so much, right? You just discovered the next big idea. Utility is just economist speak for happiness. Total utility adds up all the happiness from everything you've eaten so far. Marginal utility is only the extra bit from the next slice, nothing before it. This next part actually matters, the law of diminishing marginal utility. Every extra slice gives you a smaller thrill than the last one did. Watch the numbers as they drop. 10, 8, 6, 4. Total's still climbing the whole time, it just climbs slower and slower, because each new slice is worth less to you than the last. That's also the reason you'll pay real money for your first slice of something and basically nothing for your 10th. Same logic, and it's the actual reason demand curves slope downward instead of running flat. Hang on to this one because Unit 2 builds directly on it. AP exam alert. The law of diminishing marginal utility falls as you consume more, is almost guaranteed to show up. And now everything we've built, opportunity cost, utility, snaps together into two rules that quietly run every smart decision you make. Rule 1 is cost-benefit analysis. Keep doing something as long as the marginal benefit is at least the marginal cost. One more bite, one more hour of study, one more rep, and stop exactly where the two are equal. MB equals MC. That's your sweet spot. Not too little, not too much. Rule 2 takes that same idea shopping. The utility maximizing rule says spend so the last dollar on each thing gives you the same marginal utility, written as MU over price, equal across every good. In plain terms, if a $1 snack gives you more happiness per dollar than a $1 song, buy more snacks until they even out. And all of this happens inside your budget, meaning you've spent everything you have. Once every dollar is giving you the same bang, you literally can't rearrange your money to be any happier. That's what a perfect choice actually looks like. AP exam, alert MB equals MC, and the marginal utility per dollar rule are classic free response and multiple choice material. Write the formula first, then explain it in words. Graders want both. Alright, you've made it. Now we have 8 questions, 1 per big idea. Here's how we're going to do it. I read it, you answer out loud. Actually say it. That's how you find the gaps. Then we check on the very next slide. Pause here if you want a minute. Take a run at all 8, then hit play when you're ready for the answers. Okay, let's clear it. And I'm not just handing you the answer, I'm giving you the why, the way a reader wants to see it on the free response. Check yourself against each one. Anything that feels shaky is your signal to rewind to that slide. 1.1 opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative you give up. And the 2 words that earn the point are next best. Not everything you gave up, and not the thing you actually chose. Skip the gym to study, and your opportunity cost is the workout. The single most valuable thing you passed on. 1.2 trade-offs are everything you give up. The whole list. Opportunity cost is just the single best item on that list. On the exam, if an answer adds up several sacrifices, it's testing trade-offs, not opportunity cost. One word, single, is the whole difference. 1.3, the 4 factors and their incomes. Land earns rent, labor earns wages, capital earns interest, and entrepreneurship earns profit. Full credit means naming the factor and its payment. They're usually graded as a pair. Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Rent, wages, interest, profit. 1.4. The PPC bows outward because resources aren't equally good at producing both goods. As you make more of one, you're forced to use resources that are worse and worse at it, so each extra unit costs more of the other good. That's increasing opportunity cost. And increasing opportunity cost is exactly what curves the line. If resources were perfectly adaptable, you'd get a straight line instead. 1.5 point inside the curve is inefficient. Resources sitting idle. Think unemployment or a recession. You could be producing more. A point outside is unattainable. You don't have the resources to reach it yet, though growth could shift the whole curve out to it. On the curve is efficient, inside is wasteful, outside is out of reach. 1.6. Comparative advantage goes to whoever has the lower opportunity cost, full stop. Not whoever is better or faster. That's absolute advantage. The producer with the lower opportunity cost should specialize in that good. Lower cost wins every single time. 1.7. For both sides to gain, the terms of trade must fall between the two countries' opportunity costs. Inside that window, each country gets the good for less than it would cost to make it home, so both come out ahead. Land outside the window, and one country would simply rather produce it itself. 1.8. The utility maximizing rule: spend so the marginal utility per dollar is equal across every good. MU over price the same for each, while spending your entire budget. The intuition: if one good gives you more happiness per dollar, shift money toward it until everything evens out. When every dollar delivers the same satisfaction, you can't rearrange your spending to do any better. How'd you do? Anything you stumbled on, jump straight back to that slide. 5 minutes now will save you on exam day. And that's all. You just did all of Unit 1 in one sitting. Quick recap of where we've been. Scarcity forces choices. Opportunity cost is what those choices actually cost you. The PPC turns all of it into a graph. Comparative advantage explains why we trade. And 2 simple rules guide every smart decision. That's the whole unit, and if it clicked, you're genuinely ready for these questions on the exam. Do me a favor and hit subscribe so Unit 2 finds you. That's supply and demand, where all of this finally runs into price tags and real markets. It's a fun one. See you there.